La emisión está comenzando. Todos los asistentes están en modo de solo escucha.
Today is with me Ladies Vilche. She support the webinar. Okay.
Okay, there was a lot of noise on the line then. Could you just say it again?
Hi, David. My name is Ladies.
Hello there.
Hi. I will be helping with the questions and...
But essentially, it means that the humans are doing the things that they are best at. Humans are dealing with human problems. The robot is dealing with technical problems. And that, again, is a sign for where we're going. So who's at risk of all this? Well, the people who are most at risk in coaching and mentoring are the people who are operating at that basic level of the grow model, the very basic level of mechanical coaching, where you've got a model and you've got to use it. Because the robots can already do that better than you can, and they can ask a much wider range of questions. They can respond to the client for what the client says overall in more effective ways. So we're already seeing coach bots which can do most of what grow level coaches do. Also, the people at risk are the people who are just there to transfer simple bits of knowledge. Now we're seeing a big growth in this, just linking somebody through just as a network of people that you can go to for information, and that's fine. But it is very transactional, and most of these transactions people can find. You can capture the knowledge from that person. You can make it available as a series of FAQs, frequently asked questions, and increasingly we're seeing this all over the world. That what used to be expert knowledge is now becoming fast FAQs. That kind of coaching is becoming less and less viable. It's done better by machines. And a middle risk is coaching for behavioral change. Again, some of the more basic stuff can be done by a robot asking the right questions, but the really low risk is at that transformational level, where we're helping people to work out their identity, who they are, where they want to go, where it's more an understanding of their systems and how they work with other people, where so much of it is intuition and about their need to be the person that they wish to be. And so transformational coaching and developmental mentoring, the higher end of coaching and mentoring, seem to be pretty immune to this for at least the foreseeable future. Nobody can see a way of how this human aspect, where you actually use yourself and your personal experience as a core of how you coach your mentor, then at that level, there is no way that this can be substituted. That's where the real value added of coaching comes. So AI coaches have plus and pluses. While they're very expensive to create, you need to have thousands of situations to be able to extrapolate the data on which you build the algorithms. Once you created them, they're very cheap, and they're also available just whenever people want them. So you've got no it's no big problem to ring up at your convenience. Coach bots are increasingly becoming a part of the analysis of what's going on, helping people with simple work problems. And in team, if you want to find out do an analysis of your team, for example, and the critical issues that face your team in terms of behaviors, there are coach bots that will do that for you. Now, whether they're as effective as human coaches is an interesting question. And I'm involved in some experiments which hope to be able to actually look at what happens if you don't have any intervention, if you just have a coach bot intervention, and if you have a coach bot intervention plus a coach. We're hoping, of course, the last one is going to be the one that's important. Some of the coach bots, here's one called Butterfly, collects feedback from managers, team, and colleagues, and offers advice based upon on the feedback that it gets. Here's another one, Coach Otter from MIT, has recorded thousands of managers handling really difficult conversations with direct reports, and then helps them by making suggestions as to how they can structure the conversation, the next difficult conversation they're going to have. Again, you know, it's equivalent to being able to sit down with a really wise and experienced person who's been through it all before and get their advice on what to do next. And indeed, when we actually look at the advice side of coaching and mentoring, the advice side, giving you a menu, at least giving you a menu of advice to choose from, bots will probably take a lot of that work away from coaches, whether or not you believe that coaches should give advice. We've already covered this one pretty much, but basic thing, the coach AI can build a structured conversation, similar to that what a coach would have before you do any team coaching. And so what it can do is then take that information and then reviews what other questions you could ask, which will go into more detail. So what it does is to get over this big problem within team coaching of people being questionnaire out, of being overloaded with questionnaires. So it has a simple conversation with people, and then it is able to suggest which of the question of the many questionnaires out there will be most helpful to this team based upon the issues that keep. So if we summarize it, the doing of coaching can be replicated by an AI with relative ease, but the being of coaching, that can't. That requires presence, intuition, immense compassion. So I'm going to skip some of these for time now, but we're already seeing that AI can read basic emotions, and we can, but how far it can go, if we can't explain our emotions to each other, how do we expect a computer to explain those emotions? I think what we're finding is, again, computers can look for signals that we can program in, but can they actually work out in more depth about what's happening in somebody's mind? Well, we don't know yet, but it's a big question mark. And this whole program by IBM, looking at things like nostalgia, the construct of real conversations, and looking at intuition being one of the biggest things that we have to bring to the party that up to now AI can't. Will it be possible in the future? Nobody knows, but IBM is certainly looking and seeing how it goes. If we look at wisdom, well, we've got lean wisdom, which is very context and task specific. AIs are already working in this area, but broad wisdom, which is based upon life experience, both your own and other people's, AI cannot adapt and get into this area at all. And similarly, a meta wisdom is even farther above. So where your meta wisdom is where you bring together lots of multiple shifting perspectives from multiple different ways of experiencing things. Again, this is currently when and if AI manages to do this, it'll be a very long time in the future. But what AI can do is read what's going on in your mind. There's one program now that can predict personality based on eye movements. In another set of experiments, there's an appliance you can put on your cheekbones, sort of a headgear, that actually reads or listens to what you haven't said but were thinking. So it can read your thoughts because when we actually have thoughts and things that we want to say but decide not to say them, while we remain quiet, those conversations still happen. The muscles in your mouth still move, but of course you're to in a much more smaller way. But your voice box does not. But those conversations that the computer can actually read what's going on in your mind through the muscles in your mouth. So we've done this one too. So basically, how do we pull this together? AI helps humans cope with the vast complexity of data they need to be able to work through decisions. We can make data because the AI does all the hard work for us. So what it does is it doesn't make people obsolete. It just makes hard, grinding tasks obsolete. And when you think about all the bits of coaching which are the most boring, those are the bits that are most likely to go. And there's a suggestion that AI should not stand for artificial intelligence, but for augmented intelligence, the way that it augments our intelligence. So lots of examples of human AI partnerships. In recruitment, for example, most of the problems of recruitment recruitment bias, it's claimed, can now be overcome by using an AI in combination with a recruiter, because the AI knows the kind of traps to fall in and can actually warn them when they're likely to do that. So if we look at what's going on here, we can see that you've got the coach or the mentor, you've got the coachee, the mentee, you've got the AI making a partnership together. And in that, and all three of them are co-learning and co-creating. And it's the way that we learn to use this, to work together in creating something different, something meaningful for the coachee that is going to be to determine how good our coaching is. And so the box around here, we're getting information of all kinds in from all of these people. We're getting context in from all of them. We're getting intent. What do we want to achieve? And those insights that come are all happening at the same time. And it's this process of co-learning and co-creation that brings together the three entities: the coach or the mentor, the coachee and the mentee, and the AI supporting them. In a scenario we've done for a chapter in a book recently, we've got the supervisor of a coach having a typical supervision session with them, but in the conversation as well is the supervisor's AI and also the AI of the coach. Now, you might also, in due course, have the AI of the client. But the point is that these AIs can be exchanging information at the same time as the humans are and informing them and making all sorts of suggestions about what might be going on. And the supervisor's AI will have a whole load of different content and different sets of experiences to compare with than the coaches will. And so, again, it's a process of co-learning and co-creation. Makes the whole process of innovation and learning potentially much more efficient when we learn how to do it. So in a coach AI partnership, you've got real-time information about what's going on in the conversation, but in both the client and in the coach. So the AI keeps you informed about what's happening. It can immediately go, while you're having the conversation, and go and look up other things that might be useful to you. So diagnostics, information, what does this particular word mean? What are the things in this culture that are interesting? It could suggest questions and lines of inquiry, things you could, so you don't, as a coach, don't have to think about what am I going to ask the next question. You can relax and really attend to the client. It allows you to check your intuitions. Is there something going on here? And the AI can come back and say, no, I can't see any evidence for this, or yes, I can think about the number of times they've used this particular word. And it allows you to review each coaching session afterwards in depth. So while recording sessions is one thing, actually having an AI record them and analyze them and give you a summary in whatever way that you decide it's most useful for you to extract learning for yourself and for the client, those are all ways in which you can help. And basically, every coaching conversation that you have is a learning process, not just for the client, but for the coach and for the AI. So it's a multiple learning process. I think one of the greatest things you can do is just have what if scenarios. What would happen if we did this? So if you've got some clear elements to a situation, you can the AI can help you by manipulating the players in a scenario, for example, helping the client think through things from multiple perspectives, gathering information that will help help the conversation along, making it much more transparent. One of the things that I like is the cultural issue. I love collecting words from words which don't appear anywhere else. If you don't have a word for a concept, you don't have the concept. In Central South America, and other parts of the world, there are some primitive tribes which don't have the concept of mathematics. And they don't have the concept of mathematics because their words for counting are 1, 2, and many. So if you don't have the word for something, it's hard to imagine that concept. Only when somebody creates a word for it do you begin to put some real meaning behind it. So we all only speak a few languages, and therefore that limits the range of concepts that we're aware of. But a computer can hold hundreds of languages and look at different concepts and words that might be relevant. Take the word, for example, from South African, Ubuntu, which means the sense of togetherness of community. It's so much more behind that. But until that word came along, we really struggled to be able to express this way that we are all interconnected and all responsible for each other. And we have to have long ways of expressing it. Once you have a word, it's much easier. And so finding words that can be really helpful, your AI could be your companion dictionary of ideas and concepts. So you can use your AI in so many ways here in terms of narrative and language. And so coming into the last of this, if you're going to work with an AI as a coach, it's going to help. It can help you with emotional monitoring, looking at what's going on emotionally for your client. It can suggest different dynamics, different scenarios that you might want to explore with the client. You can see patterns that you may miss, like the use of certain words or synonyms for them frequently. When you get stuck and you need to have need to have a different way of going through, then your AI can suggest questions that might just make a breakthrough. And then if we take it, if you want to make the process work, you can ask you can think about in the coaching sessions, what am I not noticing? Let me ask my AI, what is there anything I'm not noticing here? Are there any patterns I'm not seeing? Are there other bodies of knowledge that might be relevant? And if things start, if you think about the complexity of situations, if you're working with a team, for example, and you've got 8 people in the team, you've got 56 different relationships going on. It's far too complex for any coach to keep in mind. But an AI can. And then this last one, how can I test my intuition? I think that's a critical one. If you're not, what's going on? What is this intuition supported by, for example, the person's body language? In terms of supervision, we can't find a way for AI to engage in supervision yet, but it can support supervision simply in the way that we expressed by just enriching the dialogue. One of the ways being, you might refer to a model that the person has, like most people are aware of the drama triangle, for example. But if you took out the drama triangle and you wanted to use that, you can actually just ask the AI to display it, and some references to it and so forth. So you just, part of your conversation is using the AI to do that grunt work of just going finding stuff that will be helpful to the coach in the moment. So that's a very rough overview of where we are with AI. I think if we had this conversation in a year's time, a very substantial amount of what we've just been saying will have changed. But as coaches, we have a choice. We can say, well, I'm gonna just ignore all this stuff. I'm gonna let it wash over me, and then find that we get left behind. Or we can embrace it and say, okay, how could this make me a better coach than I am now? And I guess for probably most of you listening in now, I hope anyway, that's the second one of those, is where you're at. How could this make me an even better coach than I am today? I'd love to hear your comments and questions.
Thank you, David. We are now opening our questions for the assistants. Thanks the assistants too. So let's wait. They're writing the questions.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let's finish writing. Yeah. Okay. We have the first one. Lorena Bejarano is asking, where can I find some books about this topic?
There aren't any yet. I know that there are 2 or 3 in being planned.
Okay.
But I don't think there's I don't think there's anything yet that really covers this topic in any depth yet.
Okay.
But if you search, basically, if like me, you just keep searching on Google. Google Scholar, is it? There are papers which give you some which are very technical, but will give you some thoughts around it. But the websites of IBM, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and else, that there is a lot of material out there, and a lot of people experimenting.
Oh, okay. Thank you, David. Maria Fernanda Tello, it says, thanks, David. Very interesting presentation. Horacio,
Okay.
yes, Horacio Albornoz says, thank you, David. In your opinion, what time they need scientists to develop a cyber coach that can beat a Turing test?
Aha. Well, yes, that sounds like a human. Well, there's a robot called Sophie, and I saw an interview with on a television program with this robot, and for a limited period of time, it had been trained to answer. It's been trained in PR. Public relations, and it basically was able to hold a conversation. And if you didn't know that it was a robot, for that short period of conversation, you would have assumed that it was a human being. It was funny. It actually, I mean, the humor had been programmed in terms of responses to specific kinds of questions. But if you didn't, but it's getting very close. So now that's not the same as with a coach, because a coach is, you don't know what the context is to that conversation. So I think that the Turing test has been queried a lot as whether it's really valid anymore, because there's a lot of stuff that if you take one specific context, then robots can already, in theory, pass the Turing test. But if you take the test that it is multiple contexts that you're talking about, and so you put it in an unprecedented situation, that's with unpredicted questions. Now that's the Turing, that would be the equivalent, I think, in coaching. At the moment, we're a long way from it, but it just depends how ultimately, when they've done enough observations, it will be possible to have a bigger and bigger selection of situations that clients might meet. In some of the conversations I've had with bot developers, the number 10,000 keeps coming up. So it would need a minimum of 10 observed coaching sessions with 1,000 coaches to be able to begin to create an AI coach that might have a chance of passing that test.
Okay, well, I think that answers.
I think even that's pretty optimistic, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, David. Luz Romero says, thanks for a new point of view about coaching. Maybe the robots can do the job of a human being, but the intuition and feelings are more sharpened.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly. But again, a lot of this, it's being worked on. Some of this will be. Remember that for the trauma therapists, the robot is actually preferred. It seems less judgmental, so it's actually people like it more. That's quite frightening. So I think there are some challenges there for us. But I agree. We have it is our emotions, our experiences, the way that we feel with our clients, our ability to give them compassion. That is something that we have no idea how to make work with a robot, because robots don't. The robot brain is not the same as our brain.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks. Ernesto Olivares, it's asking again about book recommendeds. But you talk about some papers on the Google, maybe?
Yeah, I think just there's a lot of really good blogs around. So if you go to IBM, McKinsey have done some work on it. There's all sorts of people who are and universities who are working in this area and doing little bits and pieces. Saber, Saberr, one of the bot manufacturers, has some very good materials, and it is specifically focused on coaching.
Okay, well, we will wait for your book. Maybe we have to wait. Right. Okay, I will have another question. It's from Sonia Encinoso and says, in your opinion, is a good tool support to coaching process more than process mentoring? And thanks for sharing us a very good presentation.
I didn't quite understand the question.
It says, all is a good tool support to coaching process more than to mentoring process?
Okay, yeah, I think it is probably going to see more application in coaching than in mentoring, at least to begin with, because mentoring has much more use of the mentor's experience, and much more than coaching does.
Okay, David. Well, we have another questions. Luz Romero. Well, it's thank you very much for great answers. And yes, I think we are done for now. So,
Well, thank you, David from ACN for the conference today, and thank you, Nady, for help us with a question.
You're welcome.
Thank you both, and I hope I'm very happy for people to see this, to receive a copy of the slides. So that's fine. And just to hear about your own experiences as you get engaged with robots. I think one last point I would make is that we have. I think at the European Mentoring and Coaching Council, we've been discussing what should the professional associations be doing about all this, and our initial conclusion is that that training of new coaches, and certainly of coaches working at some more advanced levels, should now increasingly have a requirement of technical, or will increasingly have a requirement of technical competence. So the ability to work with AI as it becomes more and more available. And so it's just one more skill that we're going to have to learn.
Of course, yes. No, thank you very much for all the information, David.
And see you.
Thank you for listening. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Bye.